everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sports Unscripted. We will be starting this episode a little differently than the others. First, I want you to imagine that you're sprinting down the soccer field and the crowd cheering is the only thing that you can hear. You jump into the air and collide with the goalkeeper. Instead of your head, it's your left hand that strikes the ball. The ref doesn't see it and the ball hits the back of the net. The crowd erupts, and in that moment, you have scored one of the most famous and controversial goals in sports history. The goal stands because at the time there was no VAR or replay. What you have just imagined is Diego Maradona's hand of God moment in the 1986 FIFA World Cup quarterfinal against England. Now, for those of you who may not know, Maradona was one of the greatest soccer players of all time. He played professionally for over 2 decades, which is very impressive, and was Argentina's hero on the field. But his story is very complicated and controversial. He was celebrated for being a genius on the ball and criticized for his controversial behavior both on and off the field. Let's get back to the game. About 5 minutes later, Maradona scored another goal, but this goal was the exact opposite from the one he had just scored before. It was completely legal and probably one of the best goals, or one of the better goals that he had scored in his career. Argentina ended up beating England 2-1, and they actually ended up winning like the entire World Cup that year. So back to the quarterfinal. This game was much more than just soccer because the two countries had been at war. So the fact that Maradona had cheated and used his hand was very, again, controversial and kind of seen like payback just because it was more than just a soccer game. The tensions were very high. Okay, now let's talk about when Maradona actually came clean about cheating 15 years later. In 2000, Maradona had written an autobiography called El Diego. He finally admitted what everyone else kind of already knew, that he had used his hand on purpose and knew it was a handball in that quarterfinal. His exact words were, "Now I can tell the truth, what I couldn't then. I used my hand deliberately." At this point, no one was really surprised because that's just the kind of person he was. Like I said, he was complicated and controversial. The only thing shocking about this entire thing was that he actually admitted it. No one really thought that he would. However, since they did win the World Cup that year, and his handball goal was like the difference, it was the difference maker. They only won that game 2-1 because he hit the ball with his hand into the goal. This kind of made a lot of people debate whether or not that their title should even count anymore. And a lot of people even debated whether he should be considered a legend because he did cheat and was crazy off the field. But at the end of the day, that was kind of just who Maradona was. He was a complicated and imperfect player who has left a long-lasting impact on the game of soccer, probably forever. That's kind of all I have for today. I hope you found this story as interesting as I did, and I hope I did like an okay job at explaining it. So thanks for listening.